just simply sleepy, where bedtime stories become gentle adventures, and every tale leads you deeper into peaceful rest. Tonight, you're invited to settle in with a true story, a quiet story, one about loyalty, instinct, and a dog named Skye. But first, let's leave behind the noise of the day. Take a slow breath in, hold it gently, and now let it go, like mist rising off a morning lake. Relax your shoulders, let your hands rest, unclench your jaw, soften your brow. This is your time now, a time for quiet, a time for stillness. Let the soft rhythm of the story carry you, like a warm breeze at dawn. And now, let us begin. It was early. That strange velvet slice of morning, just before the day commits to being awake. The sky still wore its night clothes, bruised with pale blue and streaks of lavender. Street lights buzzed in a low electric hum, flickering like sleepy eyes, struggling to stay open. A gentle fog rolled along the curb like spilled milk, curling around mailboxes and the edges of driveways. Dew clung stubbornly to the blades of grass, glittering like frost in the hush. Sprinklers hadn't yet come alive. Cars hadn't yet revved. The world was in between, still breathing in dreams. The town held its breath. Just a few porch lights cut through the haze, soft, golden, hesitant. A couple of robins had begun their songs, cautious and halting, like shy children at a recital. One fluttered to the tip of a bent antenna, another chirped from a chain link fence, its notes trailing off into the stillness. And then there was Skye. She slipped out the front door like a shadow with purpose, sleek, lean, alert, a Belgian Malinois, bred for precision and performance. But today she padded forward with a quiet gravity, as if the very sidewalk whispered something only she could hear. Her paws made no sound on the concrete. Ears stood tall, twitching at every rustle, eyes sharp, scanning like searchlights. And that nose, always twitching, drinking in the morning like a radar, tuned to frequencies humans couldn't imagine. Behind her, Leah emerged, hood drawn low, earbuds snub, one hand loosely curled around the loop of the leash. She yawned without meaning to. Her steps were rhythmic, but automatic, like muscle memory. She wasn't here to think. This was the ritual. A morning jog with her silent partner. 30 minutes to clear the cobwebs and let the world recalibrate. They were in sync, always had been. Same stretch of sidewalk, same 4 right turns, same patch of grass where Skye always fake charged a squirrel for fun, tail wagging like a metronome. But not today. Skye froze mid-step. No warning, no stumble, just stillness. Leah walked 2 more paces before realizing the leash had gone taut. She turned, eyebrow raised, one hand tugging the earbud loose. "What is it?" she murmured, barely a whisper. Skye didn't move, didn't blink. Her head lifted slowly, like a periscope breaking the surface. Nostrils flared, ears rotated forward, muscles locked in a statuesque pose that said one thing clearly. Something was wrong. Leah gave a soft tug on the leash. Habit, not insistence. "Come on, girl." Skye stayed planted. Instead, her whole frame leaned slightly left, almost imperceptibly, like a compass needle drawn off course. Then, without hesitation, she lunged, not with panic, not with play, with purpose. She veered hard off the sidewalk, yanking Leah along with sudden force toward a yard that seemed almost swallowed by time. Leah stumbled a bit, but kept pace, breath catching in her throat as they crossed onto the unkempt lawn. She recognized the place. Of course she did. A little white house tucked between 2 oaks, paint flaking like dried leaves, the shutters slightly askew. It was the kind of house that always looked like it was in a permanent shrug, forgotten, but still standing. And then there were the bushes, tall, wild, overgrown hedges that loomed like sentinels around the porch. Their branches knotted and gnarled, thick enough to hide secrets. Skye pulled harder now, snout pressed low, weaving like a thread through the chaos of branches. Leah ducked behind her, brushing leaves from her hoodie, heart thudding. not from the jog, but from something else, something stirring in the air. Then a pause. Skye's body stiffened again. She lowered her head just slightly, then took one step forward. Leah followed her gaze through the leaves and shadows. There, half concealed by the tangle, a pair of shoes. Old, worn, one tipped sideways, the other still, not placed, not stored, lying, abandoned. Leah's breath caught. Something was very, very wrong. She stepped forward, Skye still alert, practically trembling with intensity, her muscles like coiled springs under fur. The yard was dead quiet, except for the soft crunch of Leah's shoes in the overgrown grass and the low whisper of the wind nudging the bushes, like it, too, was trying to uncover something. The branches scratched lightly against Leah's hoodie as she parted the leaves, inching closer. A strange stillness pressed on her chest. Her breath caught in her throat, thin and short, like the air had thickened. And then there he was, half hidden in the slanted shadow of the porch awning, tucked just behind a wall of hedges that had grown far too wild, lay an elderly man, collapsed, face down, arms slack, one leg awkwardly twisted beneath him, the faint outline of bruising peeking through the paper-thin skin above his sock line, a bathrobe bunched beneath him like a makeshift pillow. One of his slippers had fallen off. He looked fragile, like glass left on the edge of a shelf. Leah's heart didn't just jump, it slammed into her ribs. She staggered forward, mind spiraling to keep pace with her body. Was he dead? She dropped to her knees without thinking. Skye standing sentinel just behind her, still as a soldier, eyes fixed, ears twitching. Leah reached out with shaking fingers, but stopped short of touching him. Something about the stillness felt sacred, like a boundary she couldn't cross. "Sir," she whispered. No answer. A little louder, with more panic stitched in. "Sir, can you hear me?" Nothing. Leah's fingers fumbled for her phone. It took her 2 tries to unlock it, her hands damp with sweat, though the air was cool. Her voice trembled as she dialed. The ringing in her ear felt louder than it should have. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man. Leah's voice broke. She swallowed hard. He's on the ground. He's not moving. He's old. He looks hurt. My dog found him. I think he's been out here all night. She was rambling. The dispatcher was calm, grounding. Is he breathing? Leah looked again, watching for the rise of a chest, the twitch of a finger, anything. I don't know, maybe. It's hard to tell. Please, just hurry. We've got units on the way. Stay on the line with me. Can you stay with him? I'm here. I'm not leaving. Minutes passed, but they didn't behave like normal minutes. They stretched, pulled, turned elastic and cruel. She sat frozen beside him, afraid to move too much, afraid to touch, afraid to do the wrong thing. Time slowed down into a drip, drip, drip. A crow landed on a nearby fence and squawked once, then flew off. The leaves rustled, then stilled. A neighbour's door creaked open and quickly closed again. No one noticed what was happening on the other side of the hedge. Skye didn't move. She sat like a statue, her chest rising and falling, eyes locked on the man. She made no sound, didn't bark, didn't whine, just watched, waiting. Finally, sirens. Faint at first, just a hum under the noise of Leah's thudding pulse, but then rising, urgent, undeniable. Red and white lights splashed across the cracked siding of the house as the ambulance pulled up to the curb. 2 paramedics leapt out, one with a med bag, the other with a stretcher balanced on his shoulder like a surfboard. Leah stood and pointed through the hedge. Back here, he's here, please. They pushed through with practiced motion, speaking in short clipped phrases. Got him. Let's roll him. Check vitals. Breathing, barely. BP's low. Oxygen now. One of them knelt beside the man and gently turned him over. Leah flinched, expecting, she didn't even know what, but then a faint sound, a cough, a wet, shallow gasp, and then a flicker behind the man's closed eyelids. He was alive, barely, but alive. They placed a mask over his face, slipped on the BP cuff, whispered words of reassurance he likely couldn't hear. The other paramedic gave Leah a quick nod. He's lucky someone found him. Leah didn't answer. She looked down at Skye instead. Skye, who was now seated beside her, tail thumping once gently against her shoe. Skye hadn't looked away, not once. Later, Leah would learn the man's name was Arthur. 85 years old, widower, lived alone. He had stepped outside just after midnight to bring in his paper, barefoot on the slick concrete, and lost his balance. There had been no one to hear him fall, no one to notice he was missing, no security cameras, no doorbell alert, just silence, and the slow tick of hours that could have been his last. Until Skye. Skye had smelled something Leah couldn't, had heard something Leah didn't, had sensed something Leah would have walked right past. Not all heroes bark. Sometimes they just pull the leash. The EMTs said that if it had been even a little longer, he might not have made it. Skye didn't ask for praise. She didn't pose for photos. She just wagged her tail, leaned into Leah's side, and waited for her walk to finish. That evening, as the sun set in honey-coloured light, Leah looked at Skye, stretched out on the rug, snoring gently, and she whispered, "You're more than my running buddy. You're someone's miracle." Some say dogs are just animals, but some of them are quiet heroes in fur. And Skye, she saved a life and just wanted a nap. And now, as the story closes, let your breath become softer. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a stream. Picture Skye curled up near your feet. The world is safe, quiet, still. You've walked the morning path. You've seen what loyalty can do. And now it's time to rest. We're always here whenever you need a story. At Simply Sleepy. Good night.